All right. Okay. Hi. Okay, well, all right, we cut the music. Cut the music. All right. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, welcome back. Hope you had a nice networking break. Hope you got some food. That was really good. We're now about to start our amazing panel. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to just talk a bit about them briefly, because we want to make sure they have more time to talk about the stuff they're doing and share their insights, things like that. But I'll share some, I'll talk about the panel a bit. So first off, we have Dima Khalili. She's an expert in the field of strategic planning. She's worked for 4 world leaders, 2 kings, 1 prime minister, and 1 crown prince. Holy cow. That's amazing. I've only worked for 1 queen, which is my wife, and 1 princess, which was my daughter, and then my son, who's the devil. So, and then we have Hugh Anthony, storyteller, lifestyle coach, keynote speaker, and he uses as an adjunct professor at Ryerson University and has a PhD. That's awesome. Oh, sure, Hugh Anthony, hands. All right. Fatima Zaidi, she's a former DYPB co-chair. She's a co-founder and CEO of Quill. She's a top 30 under 30 marketer, Flair Magazine's top 100 Canadian women. I've known her personally for many years. She's amazing, she's loyal, she's loving. I'm a huge, huge fan. You're a big fan. And then Manu Swish Goswami. He actually started the LinkedIn Locals in Toronto, and then part of the team that started LinkedIn Locals worldwide. And so now he's been graceful enough to hand off to what DYPB is doing and helping put these things together. He's a really remarkable young man and done some amazing things. He blows my mind every time I talk to him. He's a serial tech entrepreneur. He's a CEO and founder of TrueFan. He's a LinkedIn youth editor, a 3-time TEDx speaker, a UN youth ambassador, Plan Canada's top 20 under 20. Please welcome Manu. Let's do it. And then finally, our moderator for today, I saved the moderator for last, but Leigh Mitchell. I met her many years ago at my conference, DYPB. She is one of my favorite people in the world because we're very similar in terms of our parenting and our entrepreneurship style and just the way we kind of look at life and how we deal with things. And she's been an awesome supporter of the LinkedIn Locals with Women in Biz Networker. So she's actually a Women in Biz Network founder. We met at DYPB. She's a brand business strategist. I'm really grateful that you agreed to moderate the panel. So please give it up for Leigh Mitchell on our panel.
Okay, just gotta turn this sucker on.
Testing.
Okay. So I'm just curious, how many people here are on LinkedIn who have a profile? Show of hands. Okay, all of you. So do you want to just take your phone out for a second and open up, I'm assuming hopefully you have LinkedIn app downloaded on your phone. So for those of you that do, what I want you to do is I want you to open up your LinkedIn app, and at the bottom you're going to see a little people sign. Okay? So you're going to touch that people sign, and then you'll see that another little plus sign will pop up, and then it's going to allow you to see who you know it's going to allow you to connect with other people who are in the room. So it's super easy to connect with people this way. Is it working for anyone? Yeah. Perfect. Okay. So I'm going to give you a personal challenge to make 3 genuine connections tonight, and make sure that you connect with those people on LinkedIn tonight. 3, do you think that's doable? Yeah, I think so. Okay. All right, so we'll get started with the panel. Just a little tech to do for you. So I'm going to start with Swish, since you are you brought this amazing community together and connected with Bobby on this amazing initiative. And according to LinkedIn, you're on some advisory boards, which is a great way to make an impact in the world. What personal reflections can people make to create impact in their professional lives?
Yeah, firstly, hello everyone. Thank you for coming out on a rainy day. This is awesome, just to see how these events have gone through. It's over 10 events now in Toronto, and I think it's the most vibrant community for LinkedIn is really here. So you guys should just be really happy to be a part of a community like this. I think the big thing from my perspective in terms of advising is there are a lot of things that you can't do from 9 to 5 between, obviously working and working on a project that we're very invested in. There's also an appetite for social impact that I have. And that's why the advisorship is so important to me, because if I can advise in 1 or 2 companies that I think are doing a great job and give them my quick thinking on how I can help them either promote their events or how I can go about just helping them out build a team or raise money, I think that's a great way that I can make a bit of an impact. So it's kind of like 50% trying to make an impact, 50% trying to just look good and feel good. But at the same time, a lot of these companies that you advise for, my hope is that 5 to 10 years down the road they become big to the point where they'll just hire me and I'll become their 50th, 51st employee, which will be amazing. So yeah.
Nice, thank you. So I just want to do a shout out here for all of you for being here tonight, and I wanted to say that we're going to make this really interactive. We really want to get to know the questions and the reflections that you have throughout the night. So I'm not going to ask these guys a lot of questions because I know that you have some really fundamental and thought-provoking questions for them as well. So I don't want to spend all my time asking them questions. I want to give you guys the opportunity to do that. While we're just talking about advisory boards and making a social impact, does anybody have a question that relates to that? That really brought something up to them right now that they want to ask? Okay, we'll keep going, but it's very informal. If something comes to mind as we're going along with each panelist in their area that they're going to speak of, if you have a question, just raise your hand after they finish speaking, okay? Awesome. Oh, actually, okay, cool, perfect.
Because obviously everyone's time is precious, but when you decide who you want to work with, what are the key elements that you look for in a company to decide if that's something that you want to pursue?
For sure. When it comes to advising a company, I think the first is the people there. Given the fact that as an advisor, you don't really work daily at their offices. A lot of times I advise companies that aren't even based in Toronto, but I do get on 1 or 2 calls with them a week. And if I don't like them, I'm not going to have a great time during that 30 minutes or an hour. So that's the first thing, is can I get along with that person? Do I generally like them as an individual? The second thing is, I think, understanding what type of impact they're making. So one company that I advise now on is the League of Innovators. And that was started by a guy named Ryan Holmes, who runs Hootsuite. And even, he gave me the opportunity to come onto the board, but even before he did that, he said, talk to some of the students that we're impacting, right? And I got on a call with 2 or 3 of the students that have gone through their program in terms of building a company from nothing to something. And just hearing about their stories of how LOI helped them was incredible. And it kind of got me to become an ambassador for them without even signing any paperwork in the first place. So actually getting to know who those people are impacting and really trying to put yourself in their position is another big thing when it comes to assessing whether or not I want to do it. And finally, time. I think, for me this year, a lot of things has come down to just saying no. And even there's some things for advisors where things just didn't work out and I've gone back to them and said, I don't think this is working out, let's move on cordially. But I've been very diligent of really focusing now on 2 or 3 companies to advise for that I genuinely believe can become really big in 5 to 10 years, and I can actually do something for them too, and I'm not just a title holder as an advisor on LinkedIn.
Okay, Fatima. So, congratulations to Fatima. I'm so excited to announce that she has just launched a new company tonight. How she's here looking so put together, I don't know, because this girl
I've
is
had investor meetings all day. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna take credit for that. That is why I was fashionably late. Apologies.
That's okay. So you also are a sought after speaker. I see you on LinkedIn. I get kind of exhausted just looking at all of the different places that you're speaking at. But you're amazing at giving back to your community and getting involved. A lot of women in technology events, which is fantastic and something that we really need in the women's community. What planning and decision-making techniques do you reflect on when opportunities come your way? Because I'm sure you get lots of opportunities. So how do you make those decisions?
Yeah, I think similar to what, Swish said, which is you have to be a lot more intentional now, especially with the launch of this new company and all of these, other side hustles and projects I'm working on and advisory boards. And I think as time has gone on, I've become a lot more intentional. It's hard saying no to everything, but you obviously have to. Sometimes I will say yes just because it's like a close friend of mine, like Bobby, who I just can't say no to because it's Bobby. But oftentimes, I realize that we live in a world where most of us can run our businesses right from our living rooms without interacting with people every day, thanks to Page Digital and SEO. But networking events and connecting with people has been a catalyst in my sales career. So, the power of forming offline relationships is a lot more meaningful and it's a lot stronger than the online tactics. And so, while the social media world is so important to your business, meeting people face to face has been invaluable to my personal brand. And so, really making sure that while my priority is of course my business and what's paying the bills, but at the same time, I want to make sure that I'm still going out there in the community, meeting our customers, meeting our target audience, and just simply meeting other entrepreneurs, because you have to give back to your community in different ways, and it's been invaluable to me as well. It's not a one-way street. It's definitely been very valuable both ways.
Okay, Hugh. I've been enjoying watching, sort of stalking you on Instagram a little bit. You look like you are a bit of a traveler, I just really enjoyed getting to know you through checking out some of your social media, and now finally in person. So I'm really excited to get to know more about all of the great things that you're doing in the world. What gratitude and reflection practices help you and/or your clients and your students, being that you're a professor at Ryerson? So, what practices do you find help your students and yourself the most in terms of reflection and gratitude?
Well, thanks for your question. It's really great being here. Shout out to DYPB and the crew. Thank you for putting on this amazing event, and I'm so honored to share with my cast of thought leaders. So the first thing that I would share is around being a reflective practitioner, being an academic, is that the most important thing is to understand why I do what I do. And why I do what I do is the whole opportunity that presents itself, that when I look at my day, when I wake up, what do I do? So I spend a quiet 15 minutes. Just don't look at anything, just spend that 15 minutes just getting your mind ready for the day ahead. Because it's a game, right? So the beauty about that is allowing now myself to do that, and even brushing my teeth is part and parcel of how I reflect, even just the movements. And everything comes back to how do I prepare my energy? Because, I hear my cast of thought leaders talking about time. And again, I'm sure Swish can tell you that you need to have that energy. So how do I place myself to reflect on what I do, how I give thanks for all the opportunities I get to encounter every day, is to first and foremost make that 15-minute time for meditation, make that 15-minute time for reflection. What is it that I would like my day to be? So is it that, do I just do a random act of kindness to one of my clients or my students or someone, a stranger, I'm in the line at Starbucks, just say to the gal or the guy there, I'm paying for that coffee for that person behind me. Or that thank you card, that handwritten card. And this week, I promised my cast of learners at Ryerson U that I'd share this. I have the opportunity to teach an amazing course called Geography at Toronto. And I had students looking from air pollution to entertainment and nightlife. And I was blown out of the water in terms of the ideas in how we can reimagine and revision and reposition our city to be a city that works for all of us. And I said to them, when I asked earlier in the semester do you know your counselor, your MPP or your MP? And they're like, no, sir. I said, make it an assignment to do so. And it's part of the reflective practice that the sense of place, that your energy picks. Toronto is an amazing city. And for me, biking is another way for reflective practice. And so we have a biker here? All right, yeah. And again, you know, the commute, reading a book, how do I take the time to prepare myself? And these are some of the practices that I really look at. And, you know, again, how do I manage my social media profile? And you talk about your personal brand, is making intentional time for everything I do, because intentionality is very important in how we act and how we show up. And even being here, you know, one of the questions I had earlier, you know, are you nervous? I was a little earlier before I got in. But it's a good indicator that things are gonna go great. The butterflies, you don't see them, but they're controlled in my stomach. And part and parcel of that is I reflect that I have the opportunity to interact with an amazing cast of thought leaders and an amazing community of LinkedIn professionals. And that situates how even I show up here. And when we talk about gratitude, gratitude is life's elixir. Gratitude gives fuel to everything that you can imagine. How Swish advises a company. He's grateful for the opportunity. No is an equal answer is yes. Right? And just the fact that all the demands on your time, the most important thing is how can I be intentional, how can I be meaningful, and how can I create greater impact? Because for me, as I would say, service is the rent we pay for a living. And my life is in the service of others because that's where my joy comes from. And that's how gratitude helps me to be my best and to give back to others. Thank you.
So Dinah,
Diva.
sorry,
It's fine. Diva.
Dima.
Yeah.
Dima. Pardon me, I'm so sorry.
And it means rain, and I don't think we need it, but.
I apologize. I have been checking out your accomplishments on LinkedIn, and I see that you have many awards and accomplishments throughout your professional life. These things don't happen without careful planning. What kind of skills does one require in order to design and execute a successful plan, whether it be your work goals or your personal brand?
So I would say that most of my career and especially the awards and the experience that I've had, I did not plan for any of it. It just happened. It's only recently that I started intentionally reflecting and thinking, what do I really want? But I would answer your question about the intentional planning. I think, especially if we're talking about professional, developing a professional strategic plan, I would say that a lot of people, they focus on technical skills, but what's really important is common sense. A lot of people, honestly, you can have, you can be able to, most people, they focus on, we want to make sure that the person knows financial modeling, crunch the numbers, marketing experience, all of that, and it's all good and great. But common sense, it's really important to understand the market. What do we want to achieve? The purpose. Where is this taking us? The strategy, the process. And the second important thing is project management skills. You don't need a certificate for that. You just need to be organized on top of everything and have this, collaborative type of nature, because you cannot do it on your own. You have to have the people and the right people to do it basically with you. So these are the two things that I believe that are required. Of course, there's some technical skills that you would need, but these are the things that I look for.
So I think now's a great time to just open it up to the audience and ask if there's anything that's come up so far that you have a question for. Yes?
Yeah, so this is for supposed to be Switch.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a beautiful name.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, it goes like that, right? Yeah, Switch. So you're a LinkedIn author, is that right? Or
I was a youth editor, so when I was in college at the University of Toronto, there was an editor program, so I used to write articles as a student. There was about one article a month that used to come out.
on LinkedIn? Like, are
On
you,
LinkedIn.
Are you the LinkedIn influencer? Is what I'm asking.
I don't know, I feel like that.
Become a LinkedIn influencer, like.
I don't think I am. I mean, I think no, but actually, I despise that word a lot. I feel like influence, like, you could have like 5,000. My mom thinks she's an influencer. She has like 100 followers, but I kid you not, her close friends, when she posts anything, they listen. I'd rather have that than have 1 million followers and have no one listen. Exactly. So I think, yes, I have a decently big community on LinkedIn. And I generally do care for every single person that comments on my LinkedIn posts. I engage with every single one on my own, sometimes even staying up till very late to do that. But I don't know about how I influence those people. It's always great coming out though to events like this, because sometimes people will come up and they'll say, this post really resonated with me, and then I kind of know I'm maybe on the right track, but who knows. Yeah.
Can I ask a question to you today? Did your girlfriend respond?
No, but I feel like this is not in my stomach.
Yeah.
When I hear that thing, I'm like, oh.
Just so you know, you're all on question. We're going to be asking you questions too, so be listening. Be alert. Yes.
So, when I think of building your personal, just to make sure.
When I think about building your personal brand, I think of an entrepreneur or within a company that trying to distinguish themselves from everybody else. However, I sometimes struggle to find if you're just an employee, there's no such thing as being just, but if you are an employee, you're not an entrepreneur, how do you even start doing that? You're just you. How do you get to build your brand? Working but not being a leader, if I could say.
Yeah, that's a really good question. If it's okay, I'll take that, and then everyone can say something as well. So I think it's really important when you're building your professional career to get yourself out and to brand yourself. So I think it's starting by really sharing your thoughts and opinions on your industry on things like LinkedIn. If you feel comfortable, maybe doing videos from time to time. There's also, if you feel comfortable and want to get involved with, associations that are part of your industry, you could look for speaking opportunities. And you have been such an incredible example of that when you were working years ago with Rent, Fraud, Repeat.
I was working for someone else.
Yeah.
For example, I wasn't a leader in that situation.
Exactly. So really getting yourself out there and making a name for yourself so that you're not tied to just your company. And I think also as an entrepreneur, it's really important. It's one of the reasons why I have my business brand, Women in Biz Network, but I'm also starting to build my personal brand as well and getting to be known, because I may want to sell Women in Biz Network down the road. And I kind of laugh because I've changed my social media handles occasionally. And I finally said to myself, you know what, I'm never going to change my name unless I get divorced, which I'm not planning on. So that's a safe bet for me.
Yeah, so I totally agree with everything Leigh just said. I mean, at the end of the day, your personal brand is what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And, that's irrespective of whether you're an entrepreneur, a director, a leader, or just an employee. Like, there's no such thing as, you're not a leader, even in that corporate type setting, or if you're working for someone else. And I have worked for other people for many years, and that's why I worked on my personal brand, because I didn't want my identity to be tied to this company that I was working for. I wanted to be known outside of that company. If I left that company, my personal brand would be with me, would be left with the organization I was with. I always say there's 3 reasons why you should build your personal brand. The first is to become Googleable. We all know before we hire someone, before we go on that first date, before we meet someone, the first thing we do is Google them. And if the only thing that comes up are pictures of you drinking tequila in high school, it's going to help you stand out. The second thing is you can choose what you want your personal brand to look like, which is really exciting. I was always really passionate about sales and contributing to a company's bottom line, so that's what I built my brand around. And the third is you get to become a thought leader and a subject matter expert in an area of your choice. And so it's a win-win. It's a lot of time that you invest in your personal brand, but I think it really pays off in the long run.
So one of my mentors actually told me something that I didn't pay attention to before, which is everyone has a story and you can control the narration of that story. So whatever basically you publish out there and tell people who you are, it's your personal brand and it's actually your legacy. So control that narration in the way that you think is best for you.
So building on the exciting things that are being shared, my question for you is, what would you like the epitaphs of your gravestone to say? And just fast forward, yeah. So I know it sounds banal, but just think about it.
I won't have one. I'm getting committed.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So one thing that I would say is that you show up wherever you're working, not just as an employee, but as an amazing human being, adding value to that organization. Talk about passion. What is it that you're passionate about? What is it that fuels you and makes you smile? And think about those things simply. So I remember the conversation I had with my wife, and I said, when I put on my LinkedIn profile that I'm a storyteller, keynote speaker, and a lifestyle coach, what I would say to someone is that I muse daily as a professor at Ryerson, because Ryerson is just employment. It's not who I am, but it's how I show up. And the power of your story, you have tons of story that you're not sharing with us or the world. And when you think of the stories, I met Swish through a colleague, and the colleague said, no, Hugh, you gotta connect with this guy. He has an amazing story, he's doing amazing work at U of T. And I'm like, I just looked him up, look, he has tons of followers, I just started following him. And the reason when you think of how can you create impact, social impact, how can you create sustainable livelihoods for all the people, you're more than your desk job. You're more than an employee. You are an amazing human being, blessed with all the capacity and potentialities to make an indelible impact on humanity. And that's where you have to start. So, someone would say, so Hugh, what do you do? I say, I help individuals unpack or unfold their passion and their purpose and share the power of their story. Because we have amazing stories that we're not telling, and that's where your personal brand starts, with the power of your story, not your employment.
And I'd also say too that volunteering and giving back is a great way to build your skills and to step outside of your organization. Some organizations are great and will allow their employees to have time off to volunteer. But really, if you want to get to know yourself and your passions, and say for example, like for me, I love children, but in terms of a career, it's more financially and better for my lifestyle to do what I do. So I volunteer with children. I run a platform tennis program. I'm the Cub leader, and so that fulfills that need to connect with children and to laugh and to enjoy them. But I'm not going to go and change my career and become a teacher and teach children, because that's just too much for me. But I can get that need out of volunteering, so I really recommend exploring how you can give back and what your passions are, and fulfilling your passions through volunteering. It's really quite powerful, and it's something that when I was kind of having a little bit of a life crisis a couple of years ago, I found volunteering helped to fill me up again when I was feeling really depressed. So that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what you said, I remember I was having one of those moments during my PhD studies, and I just said to my wife, after I drop you at work, I'm going to go volunteer at the food bank. And let me tell you, that opened my eyes to how blessed I am to be. And just reinforcing what Leah said, I can't tell you how many years I've just been an avid volunteer. And the skills you learn, the talents that you encounter makes a whole world of difference and help to situate how you can make a difference too. And it amplifies the things that I'm so grateful for in my life.
And joining boards, that's another way to really expand your experience and give back, is looking for boards to join. And women especially are underrepresented at board level, so that's something to keep in mind as well. So I'm going to open this up to anyone who wants to answer this. And to the audience as well. By show of hands, currently in your life, what is your biggest priority to practice? Gratitude, reflection, or planning?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, so who it feels that their priority is on gratitude, having a daily practice for gratitude? Okay. Okay. Planning. Planning for gratitude, right? Reflection. Interesting. Does anyone want to talk to, maybe you want to speak to planning?
Sure. I think it's also because it's the end of the year, and there's a, it starts, I don't know why, from September, that everyone wants to start planning for the next year on a personal level, professional level, what do they want, and it's also a new decade, so that's a different story. I think planning is so important, especially if you are launching a product, launching a company, or also reinventing yourself. So with my previous career working for amazing forward leaders, which I did not plan for, now I find myself at a stage where I'm like, what is next? What are the expectations for myself, and also the people around me, i.e. parents and family, but also, like what is next? And planning is so important in terms of, what is it that you want, and it has to speak to you. So but you know what? I also believe that reflecting is so important, and gratitude as well. Because I cannot reach planning without reflecting on the past and what had happened, also being grateful for that experience, personal, professional, and then be able to plan next.
So for me, it's reflection and really reflecting on the things I'm grateful for. And most importantly is that, and building on what you said, reflection helps with planning. So, we talk about, the year is ending, and so for me, I want to know how this moment will impact the next few weeks, the next 90 days, if you look at it, next 180 days. And really, reflective practice helps in two ways for me. One, it situates me to say, okay, this is what you've been doing and how better you can get at it. Then secondly, when I also have reflective practice, I have my so-called board of directors that I use as a sounding board. Is this a good idea? Because I'm thinking of this new ideas to share with my clients, or this is what I'm going to do for the next semester, talking with my colleague. So reflection helps. The thing, however, that amplifies that is that I'm grateful for the moment, for the opportunity to think and to share. And why that becomes important is when I was 9 years old, I couldn't speak. I had an incident in my life where I lost my voice. And the fact is that in that moment, there was someone who, we grew up knowing that it takes a village to raise a child. And I had that experience, and there was someone from the village who took me. I ended up in the hospital and couldn't speak for 5 hours. But that person knew who I was, knew my parents, and took care of me. And from that moment, I have been just grateful to have a voice, to use that voice to inspire, to use that voice to transform. And that's where my place of gratitude comes from, because there was a time in my life I never had a voice. And I reflect, how do I use that voice to inspire my students, my clients, and the people who I interact with daily? And how do I use that with my immediate and extended family? And that becomes important in how I plan with them and for them.
I mean, I think out of the three categories that we talked about, I'm definitely in need of some serious improvement in a couple. Planning is definitely where I excel. My day starts at 5 a.m. and ends at like midnight, and I have every half an hour blocked off, so I know exactly what I'm doing. But because I'm such a planner, I also plan for reflection and gratitude, and I don't. You don't have to be good at everything, and you don't have to be good at all three, and I recognize where the opportunities are, and I actually have a therapist, and I think having a therapist should be mandatory. I think everybody, it's like, healthcare, it should just be covered. Everyone should have someone that they should talk to who's a professional.
Yes, thank you for saying that.
And I think there is a lot of and then she really helps me to see, when perspective is everything, and there are days where I'm like rock bottom, or entrepreneurs, the lifestyle is so cyclical. There are days you're on top of the world, and there's days that you hit rock bottom, and I think she really helps put things into perspective for me, and realizing that I'm not saving lives here, and things that are said about today may not matter next week, forget about 5 years down the line. And so if you're not good at reflecting, and if you're not good at gratitude and being grateful, and I am definitely someone like that, I'm always just go and hustling and looking to get to the next level. I don't really stop to internalize, and she really helps me to get there. And so I'm sitting on this panel saying I'm not great at reflection and gratitude, but it's okay, because there are people who are really good at it, and you can just outsource.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think on the planning level too, I have a weird issue where if I don't plan out just what my next week will look like, I always just feel like there's something missing, like I'm not going towards something. It also means that sometimes my team makes fun of me for this. I obsessively plan, where I'll even write like, Swish takes a drink of water, and send a Cali invite to my co-founder, and he'll just be like, Swish, you have to take a drink of water now. But at the same time, I don't feel like, and I think what I love so much about what he says is, I don't think for reflection and gratitude, you're asking for too much here. I think the simple, daily, consistent actions that you can take are very small, and they don't take a lot of time. It just takes a will to do them, right? So on the gratitude front, I call my mom every day. It's just my way of either getting shit on or feeling better about myself, most likely the latter. Not really. At the same time, though, I have a weird moment of catharsis when I'm talking to her, because every time I give her a problem I'm going through, she's like, "Are you kidding me?" And then she'll list out her problems, and they range way bigger than mine, and it puts me in perspective. And I don't know, that's a great moment of reflection for me, just talking to her. And then gratitude-wise, I mean, you nailed it in the nail. I guess I don't know if that's a word, phrase. Nailed it in the nail, definitely not. But you got it right, where you said it could be literally paying for someone's drink at Starbucks and being able to feel grateful that way. And I think those small, consistent actions that you take will add up over time. So I agree, go volunteer, but that's not something I think every single person can just go and do tomorrow. Start off with small habits, and they'll grow into a bigger appetite from there.
No, I'm really quite glad that you mentioned that, because everybody has capacity issues, and you have to know what they are in your own life. And if it's a matter of practicing micro giving, that's okay too. So it could be just a matter of saying, I find when I'm feeling down, the best thing I could do is think, what's one small little kindness or act of kindness that I can give to someone, or to someone that I can help. That's not going to take more than 5 minutes, but that's going to make me feel better about maybe my situation, and then also help someone else. So micro giving is something that you can look at if volunteering is just not going to fit into your life. In terms of what I find is taking over in my life, when I was younger, I was a planner, hands down. I remember getting married, and I had an agenda, nobody's business agenda. And it even had eat lunch on it. Because I remember someone giving me advice that you gotta make sure you eat during the day. And so my husband, who's the opposite of me, was kind of teasing me about that. And wasn't it that when we were out having lunch that we ended up seeing each other from, we had to they put a bag over my head. They had a bag, and they put it over my head because I almost saw my husband in the moment. But that was my planning was so obsessive back then that planning was my number one priority to ease my anxiety as someone who has an anxiety issue in her life. But over the years, after having 2 kids, I've kind of had to learn that the best plans go out the window when your kid's sick at the last second. Or your mother needs you, I'm in the sandwich generation. I have, mom, I lost my father a year ago, so now my mom's on her own, and I have 2 kids, and I have a husband, and so I'm sort of sandwiched into this intense responsibility in my life. And so what has taken priority for me and what's winning in my life right now is reflection. So every morning I wake up and I say to myself, and throughout the day, how do I want to show up, right? How do I want to start the day off? Because it's just that one tiny thing of smiling or frowning at my children in the morning is going to impact their day, and it's a ripple effect. It's like dominoes. It's crazy. If you one person says something to you, have you ever experienced first thing in the morning, and all of a sudden you go from feeling all chipper and you got an extra half an hour of sleep, and then your husband says one little thing to you, and then the next thing you know, you're in nasty land. So that happens too. So I constantly challenge myself to say, how do I want to show up in any moment? And it happened tonight. I was in the car about to pull out of the driveway to come here because I want to save money. I don't want to pay for parking. I have a car. I might as well drive. And then I sat there for a second, and then all of a sudden I got out my app and I called for the Uber or Lyft, because I knew that if I tried to drive and tried to figure out where the parking was, that I was not going to show up my best self to this event. I'd be frazzled. I'd be stressed out. So I find myself often now reflecting on, is this the best way to show up in any given moment? And it makes a difference. So yeah, I paid almost $30 to get here, but I was calm because I sat and I breathed in the back of the car. I had a little bit of time to myself. I don't know if anyone practices convergence, but that's that idea that you can have different aspects of your life converge, and you could be driving in the car and you could see that as not leisure time, but if you create an opportunity to just relax, so you don't drive the car, or say you decide that you're going to take a route that's beautiful, you can actually count that commute as leisure time. So it's that idea of that everything can converge in your life, and it doesn't necessarily mean that just because I'm commuting means that I have to be miserable. I can choose to, reflect on something that I find is important in my life. Okay, so moving along. Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes.
It's okay, I have a loud voice.
Thank you. So, speaking of planning, actually, I'm great at planning. Where I struggle is commitment. For me, it's really hard to stick to that plan. So I just want to know how you do that.
So do you struggle with executing the plan?
Yeah.
So you're not alone. So 60 to 90% of big organization actually fail to execute and implement for certain reasons. Look at your plan, see if it's actionable, if it's, it's something that you can execute. A lot of it sometimes it's abstract. We like to put, especially strategists, all these, technical terms because we know it all. But if you make it, in a language that speaks to you, so I'll just give you an example, and it's personal. It's not professional or technical. I decided in start of November to go back to my yoga practice. So what I did, that 5 days a week, I actually planned to go to different times where, I am allowed, my schedule allows me to go to the yoga classes. And those that I did, I checked them with green. So I colored them on my calendar with green. Those I did not, in red. And then I went back
and thought, why didn't I go? Was it me being lazy? Was it just, I don't know, I had like some meeting. So if it's justifiable to me, like a meeting or work or family, whatever that is, then it's okay. But if it's lazy, then like trying to think maybe I should change to a different timing then. So always think of the plan as something you can change, because my intention is that I need to go back to yoga. How I do it, you need to change it to something that suits you, and we can talk after about your plan.
Just another question there. Just to add, I hear the thing around the planning and goal setting too, around having smarter or smart goal. But I would say smarter, because the other thing we leave out, what are the expectations we have of ourselves and others in the planning process? Are we communicating that in terms of what time do you have to allocate, who you need to ask to help you execute? Because again, what you said earlier is that we have to collaborate, we need to rely on each other to get things done. And in terms of the resource allocation, are you planning without adequate resources? Because sometimes part of that execution requires resources that we haven't docked in the plan.
Yeah, so I did not basically focus on this, but definitely I would agree with you. You need to think of your timeline, your budget, the people that you're working with, their skills, experience. If it's just you have to look at what is it you're solving for. Do you have the right research? Because most plans, most companies or even individuals, they do not actually invest time, effort, and money in the research piece. And I think this is really important, because you do an environmental scan externally and internally of what is it you're solving for, your competition, trends, and even be aware of anything that might actually face you in the near future, challenges, hiccups, having crisis communication or crisis management on the side. So there's so many components, to make a plan executable, and it's as I said before, it's common sense. I actually have a blog called Strategy for Non-Strategists. So those who do not know how to strategize or to plan a strategy, it's a conceptual type of a blog of 16 lessons that you can go through it and understand how you can go from point A to point B or Z. And plan accordingly. And it also tells you, like the pitfalls that sometimes, we miss. There's so many things that we miss while we're developing. And one thing I would like to add, which is evaluation. I built evaluation in everything I do. It can be small wins or big wins or intermediate, it depends what you are solving for. But it's really important to have that evaluation framework to tell you are on track. And it's something basically that is a success. You need to celebrate it and capitalize on it and share it with the world. If there's something like a challenge, understand what's the root of like this happened and how you can solve it in the future. And also lessons learned. All will help you throughout the plan. We can talk later.
Thank you.
What's the name of your blog?
Strategy for non-strategists. But I can share it on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Are you got a response from your girlfriend? Is that
Yes.
Wait, I feel like you're the person.
I thought I did know it was my mom.
We also
Make sure I
So my question is, you guys are pretty successful. You have like your own businesses and projects going on. One thing I mentioned is the 9 to 5. What advice would you have for someone who's looking to balance the 9 to 5 with their side hustle?
Yeah, so for me this year, one thing I did with TrueFan, which I thought was pretty neat, is I took every other opportunity that came my way and I oriented it towards TrueFan. So whether it's speaking, and I've been very clear, I'm under a bureau and I tell them all the time that I only now want to speak at events where I can talk either about entrepreneurship, starting the company 2 years ago and growing it to where it is now, or marketing, which is the industry that we play in. I obviously would love to go out and speak at a nonprofit or go speak at a college and campus. That's something I do individually and that's something I do for free. But like anything else, if they're going to go to the bureau, it better be relevant to those two things. Same thing with a book, right? I have a book coming out in 3 months. I've been working on it for the last year. I talk a lot about TrueFan through the book. And actually the process of writing that book was really cathartic because I went through and I talked to each employee and said, remember the early days back in January when we were in Vancouver and we started this and we were working out of a Hootsuite office. How was that whole experience, right? And taking each of those opportunities and aligning them to my nucleus, which is TrueFan, is the way that I manage my side hustles. So that yes, if I do spend time on other things, at least there is a benefit that goes back to the main nucleus, which is TrueFin. That's the way that I orient every opportunity that comes my way.
Also, balance is balance over time. Like sometimes you can't necessarily be 9 to 5 working on your side hustles and still have that work-life balance. I've never really looked at work-life balance as something where it's, I stop working at 10 o'clock and then I wake up and I get my 8 hours of rest. Like, there's no such thing, at least not in my world. We're in similar worlds, I feel. There are weeks that I'm pulling 100-hour weeks and then I feel like I'm getting really burnt out and I'm listening to myself and I know I'm not performing at optimal productivity, and I'll take a vacation, I'll take a break, I'll disconnect. And I think balance is whatever it means to you, whatever is important to you. So you know, right now I'm okay with working crazy hour weeks because I'm a new entrepreneur and I realize that that's what I have to do intentionally to get my business to the next level. But you know, hopefully it'll amount to something so that I can be a lot more balanced in my 40s. So again, never really think about balance as a 9 to 5 that you have to like allocate a certain block of hours to something else. It's whatever you want it to amount to.
So whoever basically created this balance between the two, I don't know where she got it from. It's a myth. It's, you know, everyone has their own, you can shape your own balance the way that is best for you. For me, it's going back and forth depending on my day. But what I found is useful is that being present in whatever you're doing. So being present with family, not thinking of work, being present when you're with friends or when you're focusing on your job, even it's the full day, but you cannot just like thinking of something else because that actually would, you would not be as productive or creative. That's my balance.
So you speak of the hustle, right?
Like
how do you do a side hustle?
Like yeah, well, because you know after 9 to 5 commuting, you're pretty tired and you just want to go sleep or lay down. You know, it just.
So for me, it's agreeing with being present in the moment with whatever you're doing, and how does that amplify your passion or your purpose? So for me, when I hear hustle, I'm thinking it's just about money making. But when I think about doing something that you love outside of your 9 to 5, then it's more about your legacy impact. How do you create impact with yourself and all the people? And part and parcel of that really is how do you want to be impacting in terms of what you want to do with that side hustle or with that passion project. And the question is, why are you doing first and foremost? So you gotta get the why. What is it you really want to do? And for who? Because the big question is, a lot of times we say, I want to do this, but you didn't identify for whom. And a simple thing, I remember when I was in a nonprofit, I had a friend in another nonprofit who did baking a lot. So every meeting I had with her team, we had a bakes. And I said to her, this is something that it's just natural to you. You're passionate about baking. Why not create, bakes for fundraising? And I gave her the idea. Now she bakes and do fundraisers for her nonprofit to help the community. So the question is, when you think of 9 to 5, that's what you need to do to pay the bills and stuff. But when it comes to how you want to be remembered, what you're passionate about, what your purpose is, that side hustle asks why you want to do it, what is it you want to do, and who you want to do it for. And it will work. And we can talk after.
Thank you.
So my question is directed towards Swish. Hey, my name is Reddit. We met once for a call really quickly. You probably don't remember me, but yeah, I just want to ask a question regarding. It's similar to this question in the back, but more towards about school and dropping out. I wanted to ask you if you graduated from University or College, or do you?
My mom lives
It's definitely not being streamed right now.
It's being live streamed right now? Oh, darn. I'm on an official leave of absence. And I dropped out. But the question I think would be around how I went about doing that, or just why I did it.
So my question would be, when you do like a side hustle, right? It may not be generating profit yet, it may not be doing this well as enough for you to drop out of school. So how do you weigh out that, that margin, right? And when does that benefit exceed the cost of dropping out? Especially when I look at costs as well, when I look at, how much the expenses are, $10,000 up to $20,000 of tuition, like that's ridiculous, right? Especially when I'm going for a business degree. And I think business entrepreneurship, you can learn that just being here at events like this, right? So what do you think about, dropping out? When do you think, what point should your mind also be when you should believe that this is the time, like this time for me to drop out and pursue it full time?
That's a great question. So the first thing I'd say is that it is a case-by-case basis, right? So I'm just going to give you what I did, and it might not be applicable, it might be in some aspect. The overarching thing here is I think there is a taboo against dropping out. I wish there wasn't. But I actually think also the reason why dropping out is such a big thing is primarily because a lot of people go into a degree not knowing what they want to do with it. Dropping out is a problem. The bigger problem I find is that at the University of Toronto, over 60% of students tend to change their degree after 3 years. Right? They change their degree because they go into something right after grade 12 without taking a gap year, which if I ran Swishville, it would be a mandatory gap year. It would be a mandatory gap year where you have to go out, get a job, travel, do whatever you want, just think exactly what you want to do, because so many people rush into university and they get to their third year and they're like, this isn't right for me anymore. So that's my overall qualifier. The reason I did it is after second year, I had an opportunity to work at a VC in New York, so I moved to New York, right? Worst thing I think you can possibly do is drop out and go to the most expensive city in the world. It's generally the worst. And after that summer, I knew I wanted to stay there. My roommate was a guy who started a great company, and he offered me a position as a co-founder in it, and as a business head, I wanted to do it. But my parents were very clear to me. They gave me a year. They were like, if after a year, us supporting you, because my parents, they supported me, my mom primarily, if you want to continue doing this, you're going to have to pay your own bills. You're going to have to figure it all out on your own. So my mom gave me a 1-year ultimatum and said, after 1 year, you're going to have to go and do this by yourself. And during that time, I enjoyed that progress so much. I enjoyed the whole process of building out Dunk and then even coming up with TrueFan and moving to Vancouver, that the whole process, I think, of making money kind of fell when I started following my passion to a level where I had this year pretty much to do whatever the hell I wanted to, take any risk I wanted to. And I took that as a major, major gift that I was given, and I wasn't wasting that, by going to bed too early or by, not getting up too early either. I really worked my ass off to be able to support myself. So when my mom came back and said the year is over, what are you gonna do now? I said, I'm just gonna keep going. And she's really happy I did that too, because it's taught me a lot about being independent. And the good thing I do know right now is if everything didn't work out at TrueFan, I could go back to U of T. I always know that I can go back to school. My brother's graduating class at U of T, the average age was 26, right? 26 for an undergrad program. I'm thinking in law school, which he did also graduate from Brown, it's way higher than 26 years old, right? So I don't believe there's really an age to technically graduate. If anything, after the age of 55, you're given free education as a senior citizen. I might even take that up, honestly.
Medium-sized opportunities enough. It doesn't have to be you're generating enough.
That being said, don't just have an idea and then drop out though. You have to have measurable steps to know exactly when to drop out. So for me, those steps were a signed job offer to go to New York, and then a signed job offer to join as a co-founder to a company. A paid offer, exactly. Right? And here's the thing, if your company isn't generating revenue, think about it. Is there a way I can potentially grow something while I'm in school, and then when I do finally figure out that product market fit and the product is starting to make money, then I drop out, right? So time it in a way that you're not going and you're on the streets and you're eating ramen, and that sounds like a university student to be fair, but it's a really, really hard life, especially if you're an entrepreneur as well.
Okay, so we're going to be wrapping up it. We've got time for 2 more questions. So I just want to get a sense of how many we have out here. Okay. 2. Well, look at that. Isn't that perfect?
Okay, so my question is a little more business-centric. It's related to planning. So I'm actually pitching at LOI on Monday. My question is, right now my startup is called Leapfrog. I'm currently looking to bring a CTO on as a co-founder. My question to you is, how do you bring on a co-founder where their vision aligns with yours, where you can actually speak to them? A lot of people I've met have been more on the technical side. I see your Instagram, you can talk about Mark Elfels' shitty jump shot with your co-founder. And obviously there's other third-party websites where you can find technical founders and engineers, but more specifically, when you meet them, what do you maybe looking for? Do you have a plan when you're strategizing to bring them on, or specific questions for 3 months? Yeah.
You know, the co-founder, I think, is like the most important role that you can hire for. I mean, it's the equivalent of like finding a life partner, and it's crazy to me that some people will go into that so fast with a bad relationship where you jump into it and then 2 months later you're getting engaged, and then 1 year later you're getting divorced. It's like, well, of course, like you really need to take the time to build that trust and rapport. Like, trust is the number one thing that I look for when I brought on my business partner. He's a guy out of Chicago. He works at United Airlines, and I knew him for 10 years. And I think the second thing that I look for outside of trust is having complementary skill sets, like making sure that your team is diverse, diverse backgrounds, diverse ways of thinking. They're going to challenge you. You're going to challenge them. You're going to respect each other's opinions. And then the third is, who is going to be the ultimate boss? Because the buck has to stop with someone. And you know, those 50-50 co-founders, both co-CEOs. What is a co-CEO? What happens when you don't agree on something? Like who has the final say? So exactly. So like, those are the 3 things I would say: making sure that you have like the trust and the integrity is there, and that you implicitly you can rely on them and fall back on them. Complementary skill sets, and then making sure that the roles, the power roles are very clearly defined early on, so that you know at the end of the day who has the final say.
And one thing I note there too is my co-founder Anik isn't entirely technical either, right? So he went to Stanford for 2 years, comp sci engineering, but he's the first one to tell anyone that if you want him to build an app for you, it'll turn out very bad. It will be very bad. The great thing about him is he's a hybrid though, and I think that's actually where every founder should be, is you can talk to devs and you can understand what they're doing. So you can manage their workflow, but you can also do the sales and marketing end really well too. So that's one thing that I think has been great, is Anik came in as a hybrid, and through the process of him just talking to me, the biggest rule we have as co-founders is if you have an issue with them, immediately bring it up. Because I find most relationships break up primarily because you keep resentment within you. It ferments over time and it gets even bigger to the point where the smallest problems piss you off. Like them literally just coming in 5 minutes late to a meeting will be like, oh my God, this is the worst thing in the world. So try as much as possible to keep that level of transparency. I think Anik and I are forced to do that because not only are we friends, not only are our families pretty much involved, it sounds like a marriage already, and then more importantly, we're roommates, right? So we see each other every single minute of the day. And there are points where I get tired of him. There are points where he gets tired of me, surprisingly. I don't think I'm delightful. But at the same time, we're very transparent about that whole process when it does come up. Yeah.
Okay, we get one last question.
So it's been a super blessed year. Thank you guys. I really appreciate all the info and everything. It's been a super blessed year for my co-founder and I. We run 2 businesses, and we had to keep it a secret all year, but we just aired on ABC Shark Tank a few weeks ago. And we didn't get a deal. And so now we have all this new stuff talking about. So Fatima, you were talking about all these VC meetings that you were taking. We don't know what the hell we're doing at all. So what are the biggest takeaways that you have in these meetings and experience pitching this thing that they know wasn't picked up on national television? So thank you.
Yeah, so definitely not VC meetings. My company is only, it's very new, and so at this stage I don't want VC money. I do have 2 VCs on my board. One of them is Bruce, and he's amazing as an advisor, but he'd be the first to tell me you don't want to give away a huge chunk of your business at this stage. And in my case, I actually don't need to give away a huge chunk of a chunk of my company. I think we set the precedent that you need to raise capital. We champion and profile and rah anytime someone closes a funding round. And I mean, why aren't we profiling and championing companies that manage to bootstrap from day one? Those are the stories I want to hear. My favorite IPO and exit stories are the ones like Plenty of Fish. By the time he exited, he owned 99% of his company. I think that's way more impressive. If you are a business that really needs to raise large sums of capital to accelerate growth, so like really think about your business, like is it because you're first to market, or do you have a lot of competitors on the market that you need to like go out with a bang? Do you need a high acquisition right off the gate? So really think about whether or not you really need large sums of capital, because it is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. There's a lot of bullshit people. You're going to give away a huge chunk of your equity. It's really, really hard. I mean, unless you're a child prodigy like Swish. For the average human, it's really hard. If you're a woman, it's even harder.
Yeah.
So, and that's a separate panel. That's like a whole other discussion. So, I would say that like really figure out whether or not you have to even raise capital in the first place, or if you can afford to bootstrap. Also, are you Canadian? I am assuming you're American or dual.
I lived in Vancouver for 4 years, so I'm PR. I'm American.
You are American.
Sorry.
Okay, you're a dual citizen. Great. That's all I need to know. There's a lot of resources that you can tap into as a Canadian citizen and PR resident, I think. Before you even have to think about raising capital. It's great that you went on Shark Tank, and I'm actually doing the same thing for marketing purposes, but that, you can't, it's in $0 marketing, which is amazing. But there's so many resources for capital that you can tap into here, like Entrepreneur, BDC, OCE grants, Shred, IRAP, Clearbank. Oh my goodness, I literally could go on and on. I have raised about $200,000 in just government grants. I've given away zero equity and taken free money. So, exhaust all of your options before you think about raising capital, and then I think VCs should really be your last resort. Go to the angel investors, go to the high net worth individuals, and then maybe look at VC firms. And this is on air, and all the VCs are going to hate me because I write about them. And it's very controversial topics, but this is how I feel about raising capital. One day when I'm going to actually need money from a VC, they're not going to give it to me. Let's hope that I get there. I make it before that day comes.
Okay, well, I want to thank all of our panelists. My goodness, you guys gave such incredible advice, and I have so much to take away from tonight, and I'm sure all of you do as well. I want to introduce Bobby up to the stage to wrap everything up. And just one word. Shout out a word. What's one word that tonight has brought up for you?
Shout it out.
Ex-girlfriend.
You're so invested now. There needs to be a follow-up. Someone has to tell us
I'll
what
post on
happened.
Facebook or something. Okay, just text me back.
All right. Maybe we can have our panelists say one word to end tonight. One word other than gratitude, reflection.
Community. Thank you all for being here again. Really appreciate it.
Diversity. I feel like that's a cop-out word, but there's so many diverse faces here. I really love the turnout and the different people in the room.
The power of believing in yourself.
Belief.
Yeah. Keep learning and keep moving forward.
And now the end. All good things must come to an end. And that's the, so, first off, thanks. Big hand for the panel. Okay, thank you so much. That was great. All right, so first off, thank you so much for all that stuff. Great information, great insights. I want to kind of end off with a few. I'll share a quick closing thought, but also just share about what's going on in terms of logistics and what we're up to. So, first off, there's lots of food left over, so make sure you grab some on the way out. Why my photo there in the back? He actually has a deal for you. He's going to add $150 of bonus if you say the word DYPB to the package he's offering. So make sure you check him out. Leigh has this great. Put your business card in that thing, and that you get. It's a draw for a $300 full-year membership with Women in Business Network. Make sure you do that as well. We also have these little things we're handing out. See what he's holding right there? It's a feedback form. So if you fill out that feedback form. And then we're also passing out chocolates with it. See, Marika's got the chocolates. So feedback form with chocolate. If you fill it out with the QR code, you're going to get you're entered a draw for a free ticket to our next event, and we'd love to have you kind of do that as well. I want to thank our sponsors and partners, all the people who've shown up. Women Biz Network, I'm a photo, Grid Online, Ray Allen, and all the people that are here. I really appreciate the team, all the volunteers that are helping put this together. This is really hard stuff to put together. So, one of the things, we're always looking for volunteers to help us out and do future events because there's a lot of work. And that's something to keep in mind, okay? If you're willing to give a testimonial, we have a little section over there for, people can share a little what they learned, what they're grateful for, share some feedback, reflection. It's all kind of part of that. We actually have an after party, which is going to be, because after we're done here, we're going to clear the chairs and pack up, and we're just across the street. There's a place called Hotel Ocho, and they actually have a cafe and restaurant on the bottom part. It's right across the street, so it's really easy to get to, and it's open till midnight. And the other thing I want to share is what DYPB is up to next year. So this is the end of the year, and one of the things one reflection I'll say is that actually let me get that in a second. DYPB, we're planning for next year and what we're doing, and it's a lot of work in terms of the LinkedIn local. So we've already planned. We're doing 4 next year. So we did 6 this year, 6 previous year. It's a lot of work. You don't have the volunteers, the capacity to do them all. So we're going to do 4. And I already have the dates and topics. On February 26th, we're doing one on AI, machine learning, and cybersecurity. On May 13th, we're doing one on succession planning for senior executives and talk about baby boomers, exodus versus millennials. On July 22nd, we're going to do one on synthesizing and sharing complex data through storytelling. And then on October 21st, we're doing one on diversity and inclusion in the senior ranks. And then we're also doing what are called mastermind dinners. So we just launched one. We did one in early in October. It went really well. We're going to be doing 2 next year. If it goes well, we do more. But on January 29th, we're doing a mastermind dinner where basically 10 to 12 really amazing leaders get together in a room, and we're going to mastermind whatever they want to talk about. But we're also going to have 20 minutes of expert content. So the first one's going to be the new LinkedIn, how CEOs and senior leaders can use social platforms to build a thought leadership personal brand. And then on April 1st, the mastermind dinner is going to be around driving innovation, embracing disruption, and reacting for success in your organization. That's what we're planning next year. And we're also planning another large-scale event, but that's to TBA, but we'll see how that goes. And then finally, on the topic of gratitude reflection plan. The reason we do is because, it's the end of the year, we're thinking about these things. I was also inspired by Blake's event, and I tell you, if you can go on Sunday, it's going to be an amazing event and very, very epic. And what I can tell you is that everyone here, we talk about people feeling lost, stuck, or fulfilled in their journeys, and I think that's a human thing. And the reason why we talk about reflection, gratitude, and plan is because it's a human thing. Some of us just want to plan. Some of us just want to reflect. Some of us just need to bring gratitude in our lives. Now, what I can tell you from my own personal experience is that, I typically plan when I'm at peace. And I think about, what's going on next day, next week, whatever. I often reflect when I'm rejected. I'm rejected in life, or if I gain weight, or if I, have a bad call, or my wife and I have a fight, whatever. When I feel rejected, I reflect. And then gratitude actually for me is the hardest thing, because life is full of rejection, and life has opportunities for peace. But in the midst of all the craziness, chaos, you're like, especially like when I'm 40 and it settles down, it doesn't settle down. You're juggling even more balls than you have any idea. It does not settle down. And so for me, I switch to gratitude when I need growth, or when I'm having growing pains. And it's the hardest one for me. And I can tell you, people, you ask me how am I doing, and I say I'm great, but actually, part of me's not. Some things are good, some things are not. Life is hard. And that's why gratitude is so important, to get some growth, go through that pain, help you reflect and get to that peace where you can plan what you want to do the rest of your life. All right? So thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening, and just post everything online. We'll see you there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye. I'm going to find out. Sorry, right now.
So while Bobby is getting through the drop, we the members of the panel want to take the opportunity to express our thanks and give him a big round of applause for the amazing work he does.
And the team. The team's amazing.
And the team.
And the winner is, again, I'm holding too many things. And the winner is Leigh. All right. Well done. All right. Have a good evening. Network. Have food. Enjoy. And then let's go across the street. Thanks so much. Take care.